Welcome to Trending Update USA. This is your host, Stefan, and I am back with a trending storm that has shaken the tennis world to its core. The spotlight is burning hotter than ever on Aryna Sabalenka after a rival's fiery and controversial claim went public, sparking outrage, debate, and non-stop headlines across media, fan forums, and analyst tables. While Sabalenka has long been known for her dominant power game and unapologetic confidence on the court, this latest saga adds a new layer to her legacy, one that isn't just about trophies, aces, or Grand Slam runs but the swirling narrative off the court that now threatens to eclipse her athletic achievements. The controversy started following a high-tension encounter indirectly tied to rising competitive pressure in women's tennis. The claim didn't originate from a press conference slip or a social media rant but from an interview published in an independent sports magazine in Europe where one of Sabalenka's fiercest competitors, Elena Rybakina, insinuated something that lit the fuse. The charge wasn't vague. It wasn't mild. It was explosive. Rybakina alleged that Sabalenka's courtside behavior, locker room presence, and subtle psychological tactics have crossed an unwritten line in professional sportsmanship, suggesting that fear, not just respect, circulates around Sabalenka's aura. Let's rewind a little, because context matters when controversy turns into outrage. Sabalenka's climb from WTA prodigy to multiple-time slam champion was nothing short of meteoric. Signed early by Nike and managed under the powerful IMG agency, she quickly built a brand identity around aggression, sharp competitive edges, and raw, fearless play. Her matches against Swiatek and Coco Gauff in the last 24 months have delivered some of the biggest ratings in women's tennis history, especially during the finals of the US Open and semi-finals of the Australian Open. Her roar when she hits winners. Her stare-downs after break points. Her intense, sometimes intimidating court posture has always been a subject of admiration or criticism, depending on the audience, but never before has it triggered this magnitude of backlash. Rybakina's statement was clear. There is competitive fire, and then there is competitive fear. Aryna doesn't just want to beat you in rallies. She wants you doubting yourself before the coin toss. Fans immediately dissected every clip, every match replay, every post-handshake gesture for evidence. The internet doesn't need time to build judgment. It builds it faster than serve clocks, faster than rally counters, faster than the game itself. What followed was chaos. Outrage from sections of fans who demanded accountability. Defenses from others who claimed psychological dominance is part of elite sport. Analysts from ESPN, BBC Sport, Tennis Channel, and CBS Sports sat divided on television screens globally. Sabalenka doesn't need to speak to trend. Others speak for her and trends multiply. But the outrage wasn't just about the claim, it was about who made it. Elena Rybakina isn't a wild-card voice or an occasional critic. She is calm, composed, Wimbledon-tested, and one of the most neutral-toned personalities of the tour. Known for her quiet intensity rather than loud theatrics, she doesn't fake outrage for headlines. She rarely enters narrative battles. So when someone like Rybakina speaks, fans listen. The gravity of accusation carried more weight because of its messenger. Questions soon emerged. Is this rivalry tipping into toxicity? Is Sabalenka's intensity now overshadowing the boundary of psychological dominance? Or is this simply the echo of jealousy wrapped in sports critique? If you listen to Sabalenka's supporters, especially hardcore fans from Belarus and the rapidly growing fanbase in the United States due to Nike's campaigns, they'll tell you intensity built her empire. They argue intimidation has always existed in tennis, from the era of Martina Navratilova's net presence to Serena Williams' unmatched psychological control in finals. They remind critics that no rule bans confidence. No penalty tags ferocity. The serve clock doesn't judge intimidation. The umpire doesn't silence competitive fire. Yet critics counter with an emotional argument. The emotional compass is not the rulebook. The rulebook dictates legality, but fan emotion dictates legacy. And emotion overflowed. Social media fan bases led petitions. Threads on Reddit, X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram exploded. WTA Tour fans launched trending tags such as #RespectTheGame, #tennis not fear, and #sportsmanship first. Some even dragged Nike mistakenly into heat, accusing the brand of promoting athlete personas that overshadow moral boundaries. Even though Nike never co-signed any specific psychological edge narrative, global audiences love symbolic accountability, and logos make easy targets in digital outrage. Amid the uproar, Iga Swiatek was questioned by Polish media, and while she avoided direct criticism, her statement was interpreted as subtle reaffirmation of professionalism. Rivalry should push the sport forward, not push players away from themselves. Tennis is a polite war. Direct accusations are rare, but direct interpretations are abundant. And the interpretations reframed the saga again and again until the original quote became just a seed in a forest of speculation. But here's where the story deepens. The controversy wasn't just sparked by words. It was fueled by a pattern. Fans began pointing to past matches. The 2024 US Open final where Sabalenka crushed Jessica Pegula in straight sets while screaming, "Come on!" After every break, the 2025 pre-final press week in Riyadh where rumors surfaced that her warm-up intensity rattled even her sparring partners, and the now infamous Nike shoot at Melbourne Park where her intense, borderline stone-cold photos were labeled by fans as glowingly intimidating. Still, none of these moments were rule violations. None of them broke WTA code. But outrage doesn't need violation, it only needs feeling. The WTA itself responded neutrally, reminding audiences that mental endurance and psychological pressure have always played a central role in elite tennis, with no policy breached. But neutrality from governing bodies rarely calms outrage, it often intensifies it due to perceived institutional shielding. Fans want emotion. Institutions offer clauses. And clauses don't trend like claims do. Then came the media cycle, fierce, repetitive, rapid, unavoidable. Interviews from rival athletes were suddenly reframed for relevance. Jessica Pegula was asked by American press if she felt Sabalenka used psychological edges in finals. Pegula shrugged diplomatically, saying, "Some players hit hard with the racket, some with the mind, but we're all pros." Coco Gauff, adored by American Gen Z tennis fandom, was asked the same. She answered respectfully, "Aryna plays with heart. I play with strategy. That's what makes tennis great." That should have been calming, but fans at extremes cannot be calmed, they can only be redirected. Meanwhile, Rybakina continued her tour quietly, refusing to re-enter narrative, leaving Sabalenka standing under a spotlight storm alone, without platform voice, without narrative echo, and without social rant defense. Silence is often chaos fuel, because fans fill silence with assumptions. A rival who intentionally stayed silent didn't need damage control. Aryna Sabalenka needed none because she gave none, but the world assumed she should. Questions built mountains. Is Sabalenka becoming the new villain archetype of women's tennis? Is this narrative accidental or deserved? Can she ever reshape legacy from dominant athlete back to respected rival? Or will this claim linger like a permanent shadow over replays and future matchups at Wimbledon, Australian Open, Roland Garros, or US Open courts? To critics, this is exposure. To supporters, this is psychological misreading. To analysts, this is rivalry gravity. But to the internet, this is outrage gold. Now let's talk impact. The psychology war narrative may not affect WTA trophies, but it affects endorsement optics. Nike, IMG, and Tennis Channel are all watching how story ripples affect fan trust. Not because rule boundaries were breached, but because market emotion dictates brand stability. Tennis audiences are deeply emotional, not against intensity but against perceived intimidation misuse. Still, no evidence shows Sabalenka broke rules. No official body has warned her. No umpire penalized her for mental edges. The claim stands controversial, not factual, and controversies burn longer than statistics. So what's next? Rivalry will continue on court, and fan judgment will continue off it until Sabalenka herself, or another rival voice, creates emotional redirect. She may never speak to clear narrative, but narrative may never clear from speaking about her. And that concludes the story storm that is trending worldwide. Stay tuned.